Okay, so energy. احنا when we talk about energy شباب um, احنا we need to state first of all the law of conservation of energy. What's the law of conservation of energy? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. And we have almost 10 types of energies, and we've talked about all of these types throughout the whole syllabus. Okay, we've talked about all of the types of energies throughout the syllabus. We talked about the thermal energy. We talked about the elastic potential energy, the electrical energy, the sound and light energy. Okay, we talked about for example, this session we'll talk about the kinetic energy, the gravitation potential energy, the work done. Okay, so all of the 10 types, the nuclear energy, okay, the 10 types of energies that we usually talk about in this lesson are يعني we talk about them more extensively throughout the whole syllabus. But as for this lesson, we need to concentrate more on three main energies, okay, or three types of energies: the kinetic energy, the gravitational potential energy, and the work done. If I write down the formula for the kinetic energy, it's half mv squared. And the formula for the gravitation potential energy is what is mgh. Mass times gravitational acceleration times the height above the ground. And if I want to talk about the work done, it would be force times distance moved. Force times distance moved, not perpendicular distance. Force times perpendicular distance was the moment صح or the torque, but the force times distance moved would be work done. طبعا the unit of the energy is what? The unit of the energy is joules. Okay, you could have the unit of the energy is what? Is joules. Half mv squared, mgh, and force times distance. Um, Usually these energies are interchangeable. Interchangeable. يعني interchangeable يعني the energy can change from one form to another. Well, that's due to the law of conservation of energy. A lot of questions they would ask you to find, for example, if you have a ball, okay, this ball is 20 meters above the ground. Okay, it's 20 meters above the ground, and the ball falls downwards. Find the velocity of the ball just before it hits the ground. Just before it hits the ground. And actually, okay, a lot of, most of the questions he would not give you the mass of the ball. So the mass, you do not know the mass of the ball. So what should you do? You'd say, well, like, at the top of the cliff, the ball has what type of energy? It's at rest, so the kinetic energy is zero. But at the bottom of the cliff, or just before it hits the ground, it has what type of energy? It has kinetic energy. So all of the gravitational potential energy is basically transformed into kinetic energy. So we can just write down the rule. We can just write down the equation. Kinetic energy equals gravitational potential energy, or half mv squared equals mgh. When you write down the equation this way, you can cancel out the mass with the mass on both sides. So you'd end up with half v squared equals gh. And actually, we use this equation way too much in our equations, in our questions. Okay, we use this equation like, and you'd have um, a lot of questions you'd be required to use this specific equation. From this equation, you can find the velocity and or you can find the height. If you have the height, you can find the velocity. If you have the velocity, you can find the height. Using some quick math. If you want to find the velocity, if you're not good with finding the velocity or making velocity the subject, v would be equal to square root 2gh. Okay, v would be equal to square root 2gh. But if you want to find the height, if you have the velocity, if you want to find the height, then the height would be equal to half v squared over 2, or basically v squared over 2g. Okay, so if you want to find the velocity, square root 2gh. If you want to find the height, v squared over 2g. Okay, طيب I don't need to go into يعني ايه how I found the velocity او how I found the height بس يعني خلاص you have the equation you can just use it if you need to find either. Okay, and usually you do not have the mass is not given. Okay, for this question, okay, the mass is unknown. Okay, the mass is unknown. From this equation, or from this example, we can say that the only factor that affects the velocity while falling down is the height above the ground, not, بصوا يا شباب, not the mass. The mass does not affect the speed or the velocity at which the ball will hit the ground. The only factor that affects, the only factor, given that we're talking on Earth طبعا, the only factor that affects the speed is the height above the ground, not the mass. So if you have a very small object and a huge object, okay, with very different masses, they will both hit the ground at the same time, given, بصوا, given that the air resistance is zero. Given that there is no air resistance, definitely the air resistance could affect the velocity. Definitely, it could affect the velocity. But for most of the equations, for most of the questions, the air resistance is ignored. Most of the questions, the air resistance is ignored. Type, what happens? بصوا بقى. What happens if there is air resistance? This could be a bit more difficult. This question could be a bit more difficult. What happens if there is some air resistance? If there is air resistance, then the air resistance would be considered to be a force. The air resistance would be considered to be a force. ما we know from the forces that air resistance is one type of force. It's a resistive force, basically. So if you have air resistance, okay, if you have air resistance, this is a force. You multiply the force by the distance moved. You multiply the force by the distance moved, and then you'll subtract it from the initial gravitational potential energy. ايه اللي انت بتقوله ده؟ أنا مش فاهم اي حاجه. انا مش فاهم اي حاجه. Let's take an ايه. Let's write down an example. Oh, let's try out this example together. You have a ball, okay, on top of a cliff or on top of a high building. The distance of the building, okay, or the height of this building is 30 meters above the ground. The mass of this ball, the mass of this ball is, let's say, 5 kilograms. حلو. حلو. The question he's telling you, please find the velocity of the ball. Oh, the ball is released. خلي بالكوا, you do not push or you do not add any sort of extra force to the ball while it falls down. لا. You release the ball from this height. The ball is released from this height and it falls down. Okay, free falling motion. Free falling motion, ignoring air resistance, or if there is air resistance, then we will need to subtract it. But how do you subtract the air resistance? Dirty, the ball will start to fall down. Okay. You need to find the velocity of the ball just before it hits the ground. I need to find the velocity of the ball just before it hits the ground. But there's a catch in this question. There is a catch, and I gave you خلي بالكوا, I gave you the mass. But for this question, I'm telling you that there is an air resistance of 5 newtons. Okay, the air resistance is what is 5 newtons. Air resistance is 5 newtons. Initially, can I find the gravitational potential energy of the ball? Yes, you can find the gravitational potential energy of the ball. Yes, gravitational potential energy equals mgh. صح؟ خلاص ده equation. Mass 5 times 9.8 times the height, which is 30. Okay, يلا, let me calculate it دلوقتي. 5 times 9.8 times 30 is 1470. 1470 joules. صح? That's the energy, gravitational potential energy of the ball while it's at rest above the building. حلو. حلو. The ball is released. هتقولوا لي والله يا مستر, the energy, it should be transformed to kinetic energy. All of the gravitational potential energy should be transformed into into kinetic energy. That's in that's a only if there is no air resistance. But in this case, we do have air resistance. But first of all, we need to calculate the work done due to the air resistance. بصوا, ها, work done. This is not an R طبعا. Okay, the work done اهو. work done due to ايه air resistance due to air resistance. What's the work done؟ خلاص والله ال work done equals force times the distance moved. صح. What's the force of the air resistance? It's 5 newtons times the distance moved is what is 30 meters. يبقى the total air resistance. Okay, the total air resistance is, or the total work done by the air resistance is 150 joules. So this is the energy lost due to air resistance. بصوا, this is the energy lost due to air resistance. Therefore, the remaining energy, the remaining energy of the ball just before it hits the ground, the remaining kinetic energy of the ball just before it hits the ground would be equal to what? The difference. Okay, we need to find the difference الأول. يبقى kinetic energy of the ball أهو, kinetic energy would be equal to what? The gravitational potential energy minus the work done due to minus work done due to air resistance, minus work done due to air resistance, which is 1470 minus 150, which is 1320 joules. So the ball now has 1320 joules due to what? Oh, this is the kinetic energy of the ball. خلاص. جميل. جميل. Can I find the velocity of the ball? Yes, you can find the velocity of the ball. دلوقتي kinetic energy equals kinetic energy equals ايه بقى؟ half mv squared. صح؟ half mv squared. يعني 1320 equals half times the mass 5 times v squared. صح؟ يلا. Half times 5 is 2.5 times v squared equals 1320. Just divide 1320 by 2.5. يلا 1320 divided by 2.5 is 528. So v squared equals 528. To find v, square root both sides, يبقى square root of 528 is around 22.97, which is almost, يبقى دلوقتي v is almost 23 meters per second. Okay, على فكرة this question is a bit difficult. Okay, and you don't have many questions يعني يعني regarding air resistance. Usually we ignore air resistance. Usually most of the questions we ignore air resistance. But what happens if you do have air resistance? هنعمل ايه؟ خلاص احنا we will solve it this way. First of all, you need to find the work done due to the air resistance or the work done by the air resistance, and you need to subtract this work done. Why? Because this is energy lost. صح? This is energy lost دلوقتي. And then you can find the final velocity. Okay, for this case لا, you cannot just say that the gravitational potential energy is equal to the kinetic energy. لا. There is a difference في النص. فين ال difference? ال work done. خلاص؟ ال work done. يبقى for this part of the session, we have three equations: half mv squared, mgh, and force times distance, energy. The other part of this lesson, the energy, was the energy sources, which was a bit theoretical. صح, it was a bit theoretical. احنا we talked about how can we extract electrical energy from different resources around us. صح? Energy resources. We had the hydroelectric energy, we had wind turbines, we had geothermal energy, we had the coal-fired power stations, we had different types of energy. صح? We had renewable energies and non-renewable sources. Renewable sources and non-renewable sources. We had sources that depended on the sun, and we had other sources that did not depend on the sun. So we have different types of energy. So يعني احنا the energy resources, whole energy resources was a very theoretical lesson, if you can remember. Okay, it was a very, very theoretical lesson. So basically, if you want to revise this lesson, بالذات, okay, especially the energy resources, okay, you'd better read the notes. You'd better read what happens during the hydroelectric power energy, ولا what happens في الجرافيتيشن في الwind turbines, ولا what happens. Okay, most of them بصوا يا شباب, most of them, I guess they were eight, seven out of eight of them used two main components. Seven out of eight of them used two main components, which were the turbine and generator. صح? Most of them used the turbine and the generator. Only one of them did not use. Yani, if there's a question asking you which energy resource does not have any moving parts, the only way to extract energy without any moving parts was the solar energy. If you can remember, solar energy, we use the light. خلي بالكوا, the energy source was the light energy, not the heat energy. The light energy produced from the sun, or coming from the sun, and we can transfer this light energy into electrical energy على طول using the PV panels. فخلاص, this was the only one that didn't have a turbine or a generator. But all of the others had turbines and generators. All of the others, okay, had to convert the kinetic energy into electrical energy using the generator. Okay, it depended بقى والله whether it was initially chemical, like in the coal or in the oil, chemical to heat to kinetic to electric. So it had too many transformations of energy. صح? فالenergy resources was a very theoretical, okay, a very theoretical lesson. Okay, طيب, let's solve a couple of questions and refresh our memory. Okay, let's refresh our memories. يلا, open up paper 4 as usual. Okay, open up paper 4. Okay, on the energy section, and let's start solving. يلا, let's start solving الانرجي. برضو ايه, احنا will start from منين, page, اوكي, من الاخر كده. هم, لسه. اوكي, يلا, الانرجي, last page of energy was what page? That's so many really 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 nice questions في الانرجي على فكرة. يعني you had amazing questions في الانرجي. فبليز يعني ايه, solve as many questions as much as you can, please. Okay, اهو, يلا, page 239. These two questions مع بعض. يلا, page 239. يلا, open up your paper 4. 239. يلا. اوكي, يلا, تعالوا ايه, نقرا السؤال كده بالراحة. We have a boy throwing a ball at an object. Calculate the momentum of the ball. خلاص, this was last session. احنا we said ايه, momentum equals ايه, momentum equals mv. It's very simple. It's a two marker, فيعني it's very easy. Okay, momentum P equals mv. What's the mass of the ball? والله it's 190 times the velocity 6.9. يا مستر, 190 عادي? لا. You have to convert this mass, the grams. You need to convert the mass into kilograms. So first of all, the mass is not 190. It's actually 0.19 divided by 1,000, which is 0.19. 0.19 times the velocity of the ball, which is 6.9. صح؟ يلا. 0.19 times 6.9 is 1.311. So basically 1.3. Again, do not forget the unit of the momentum, kilogram dot a meter per second. Kilograms dot meter per second. حلو. طيب, ده المومنتم. Can you find the speed of the ball after hitting the object? يلا. The ball bounces back. يلا, again, momentum, straight path with a speed of 1.5 meters per second. The object has a mass of 1.8 kilograms. Calculate the speed of the object after it is hit by the ball. طيب, how can I find the speed of the object? That we have collision between two objects. صح? You have a collision between two objects. يلا, what's the equation? يلا, m1 u1 plus m2 u2 equals m1 v1 plus m2 v2. صح? احنا initially m2, okay, m2 was at rest. Initially this was 0. So m1 u1, احنا we just calculated it. بس يلا, 0.19 times 6.9. صح? This is the ball. as it was heading towards the object equals m1 0.19 times 1.5. Can it be 1.5؟ ها لا cannot. Why؟ ها it cannot. ليه يا مستر؟ عشان it's going in the other direction. صح؟ It's heading in the opposite direction. Bounces back يا شباب. It's heading in the opposite direction. So this is not 1.5. It's negative 1.5 times ايه؟ Negative 1.5 plus m2, mass of the second object, 1.8 times v2. Can I find v2? Yes, I can find v2. يلا let's calculate it. يلا دلوقتي هيبقى كام؟ 1.3 equals 0.19 times negative 1.5 times negative 1.5 is negative 2, negative 0.285 plus 1.8 v2. يلا احنا we will add this. يلا plus يلا 1.3 plus 0.285 which is 1.585. Yeah, 1.585 equals 1.8 v2 divide by 1.8 divided by 1.8 هيبقى كام؟ هيبقى 0.88. يبقى the speed of the ball is 0.88 meters per second. Okay, 0.88 meters per second. خلي بالكم يا شباب هنا again as I said last time the velocity depends on the direction. The velocity depends on the direction. If it's moving back يبقى you have to okay you have to write it as negative 1.5. سهل سهل. طيب can I find the energy بقى خلاص يعني regarding this session can we find the energy the change okay the change in the kinetic energy. How can you find the change in the kinetic energy Oh, the loss in the kinetic energy. احنا we need to find half mv squared. The kinetic energy of the ball is 4.5 joules before the collision and 0.2 joules after the collision. Calculate the change in total kinetic energy of the ball and the object during the collision. Of the ball and the object during the collision. طب يا مستر احنا يعني مش فاهم هنعمل ايه؟ خلاص احنا can you find the total kinetic energy? Can you find the kinetic energy of both objects before بصوا and both objects after? It's like writing down this equation of the momentum صح ما remember we had the law of conservation of momentum. Remember the law of conservation of momentum. The momentum is conserved. ما هو law of conservation of energy is almost the same thing. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. Can I find the energy or the change in the energy? طب يا مستر what happens if the energy decreases؟ ما it's not destroyed. لا it's converted to other types of energy such as sound or heat or whatever. طيب يلا احنا we'll find the kinetic energy before أو kinetic energy before and we will find the kinetic energy after. ده before okay وده الايه ها وده الافتر. So I'll write down half mv squared two times or he actually already told me he told me before the ball was 4.5 joules صح and the object was at rest so it's zero. The object at rest was was zero. طب what about after? The ball was 0.2. What about the object? Oh, I can find the mass. I can find the kinetic energy of the object. Half mv squared. Half the mass of the object was 1.8. صح؟ 1.8 and the velocity was 0.88. يلا times 1.8 times 0.88 squared. ما تنسوش squared. يلا half times 1.8 times 0.88 squared 0 0.88 squared هيطلع كام 0.696 يعني 0.7 هيطلع لنا 0.7 so 0.2 plus 0.7 is basically 0.9 صح 0.9 and initially it was 4.5 initially the total kinetic energy of the system both objects was 4.5. Finally the total kinetic energy was 0.9. ايه ده هو ايه اللي حصل عادي the energy decreased ما هو he's asking what's the change in total kinetic energy the change in total kinetic energy يبقى هنعمل minus 4.5 minus 0.9 يبقى 3.6 صح 4.5 minus 0.9 is 3.6 joules بس 3.6 ايه joules ايوه Yes, what's your question? Sorry. Hmm. What's your
عادي.
question? Hmm.
انا مش فاهمه اي حاجه.
مش
بس
أي. ليه؟
ما اعرف.
وانت you're finding kinetic energy before, kinetic energy after. Kinetic energy before half mv squared of the ball and half mv squared of the object. He told you that half mv squared of the ball, oh, half mv squared of the ball is 4.5 before the collision, and after the collision it's half mv squared كانت هتبقى 0.2. Actually you can calculate it if you want to. Okay, half times mass of the ball was 0.19. Okay, times velocity squared was 6 point هو قال كام 6.9 squared صح أو 6.9 squared. If you calculate it 6.9 squared, if you calculate this هيبقى 4.5 joules. طب after هيبقى half times 0.19 times velocity كان كام 1.5 1.5 squared. If you calculate this هيبقى كام 0.2. يبقى before. طب what about the object؟ ما هو before the object was at rest يبقى 0. طب after the object was moving with a velocity of 0.88 صح؟ and the mass of the object was 1.8. calculate على الكالكوليتر half times 1.8 times 0.88 squared هيطلع لك 0.7. So the total kinetic energy of both objects after the collision was 0.2 and 0.7, which is 0.9. طيب يعني before the total was 4.5, after the total was 0.9, just find the difference. اهو بيقول لك the change, the difference 4.5 minus 0.9 بس كده. Okay, it's not as complicated as you think it is. It's يعني very straightforward على فكرة this question. Okay,
اوكي.
okay, good. يلا بينا. Moving on. These are two different questions صح؟ two different questions. طيب يلا. This page, the car decelerates from 13 meters per second to zero. The mass of the car is 1350. Can you find the work done as, or can you show that the work done by the car is approximately 1.1 times 10 to the power of 5? Can I do that? Yes, you can. صح? You can. Work done equals A, force times distance moved. Force times distance moved. طب يا مستر احنا can we find the force او يعني what can I do to find ال force او distance moved او اي حاجة ما يعني ها يعني انت دلوقتي the work done yeah 1.1 times 10 to the power 5. How can you find the force times distance and I know that the work done انتوا you are كلكم متأكدين ان work done is ايه force times the distance ايه ال distance moved. طيب هنعمل ايه هنعمل ايه علشان نفايند الفورس او what should you do to find the distance moved. Okay, what should you do to find the distance moved؟ ها انت بتقولي force equals mass times acceleration. حلو. and acceleration yes صح you are correct. You can find it force equals mass times acceleration and the acceleration is v minus u over t. ماشي that is صح جميل. Okay, travels you have the distance I have the خلاص I have the distance يبقى you can find the force. فبص you can use two equations, one of two equations to find the force. Either you say that the force is the rate of change of momentum, which is basically يعني basically it's the same thing, rate of change of momentum mv minus mu over t, or you can find the acceleration and then multiply it by the mass. Both equations okay would be correct. يبقى دلوقتي if I want to say that the force is the rate of change of momentum أو impulse over time. What's impulse mv minus mu over time صح. طيب يا مستر v final velocity is 0 خلاص. طب initial velocity is 13 meters per second صح. يلا يلا 1350 times. طيب هنا يعني it should be negative صح. ما احنا we can ignore the negative. You can ignore the negative sign. يبقى 1350 times 13 divided by the time which is 2 صح. يلا نكالكوليت الفورس هيطلع كام 1350 times 13 divided by 2 طبعا ها 8700 8,775. This is the force. طيب can I find the work done؟ يلا work done equals force times distance يعني 8,775 times the distance moved which is 13 meters صح؟ times 13 meters which is ها صح؟ 114,075 joules, which is definitely 1.1 times 10 to the power of 5 joules. صح. Okay? Very easy. Okay? Four marks. 5% of your exam. 4 marks. طيب. Um, another day, the car travels a longer distance while it decelerates. A longer distance. The deceleration is constant. Okay, it's traveling a longer distance. The deceleration is constant. Suggest and explain what causes the stopping distance to increase. What causes the stopping distance to increase? Yani, why would he take a much longer time to stop? Okay, why would the car take much longer distance to stop? Do you have any? Oh, can anyone help me out? Okay, let's see. Slippery floor. Yes, and I was just about to say that actually. The floor was slippery. It was raining. صح? It was raining. There was water on the floor. طب how does this help? أو why does this increase the distance? أو suggestion ماشي I'll write down slippery floor أو slippery floor. Okay أو ground مش floor. Why? Why does this increase the distance? Wallahi, it increases the distance because when you decrease the friction, it increases the distance because the less friction, less friction, صح؟ يعني less energy wasted أو less work done due to friction. خلاص, less friction will cause the car to move a longer distance. So whenever you decrease the friction, the car can move a much longer distance. For example, if you have objects in outer space, if I have a ball and I kick the ball in outer space, the ball the ball should move infinitely for an infinite distance. Why? Because there is no friction, there is nothing to stop the ball in outer space. خلاص ما فيش friction, فit will keep on moving up to infinity. صح؟ طيب يلا بينا let's solve a couple of more questions كده بسرعة. يلا هنا we have energy resources. Energy resources. Many methods of generating electrical power involve the use of water. Describe one method of generating electrical power from the energy stored in power in water. ها يلا this is the hydroelectric energy صح؟ hydroelectric energy. طب you have a dam ومش عارف ايه. طب what happens in the hydroelectric energy? What happens يا شباب؟ الwater behind the dam, behind the dam gains what type of energy ما انتوا هنا the question. Okay, and you need to specify the types of energies or the energy changes that happen. Okay, gains what type of energy? Gravitation potential energy. Gravitation potential energy صح? It gains gravitation potential energy. Then as it moves through the pipes, it gains. Okay, the gravitation potential energy changes to kinetic energy. You can say so. Gravitation potential energy is changed to kinetic energy, which rotates the turbine. Okay, and the turbine moves the generator or rotates again the generator. Okay, rotating the generator. Yeah, rotating the generator, and thus the generator will produce. Okay, producing what type of energy? Electrical energy. صح؟ بس سهل الكلام صح؟ Okay. For the method you chose, state one advantage and one disadvantage of generating electricity this way. طبعا an advantage, a very easy advantage would be stating that it is renewable. صح. It is renewable. Or you can say low يعني ايه انتوا you don't pay that much, okay? Low running costs. You can say it's renewable. Or that we have low running costs. Or you can say that it is sort of reliable, okay? Reliable. مش عارف ليه كاتب reliable غلط، بس يعني انتوا يلا reliable. Disadvantage would be environmental effects or high initial costs. Okay, high initial cost, or it harms the environment while building the dam. مثلا, okay, harms the environment. طيب, say two methods of generating electrical power for which the main source is not, خلي بالكم, not the sun. We have three sources that do not depend on the sun. We have three sources that do not depend on the sun. What are these sources? يلا. Geothermal, صح? Geothermal. We have the tidal, okay? Tidal energy, and طبعا the nuclear fission. Nuclear fission. خلي بالكم احنا we kind of need to specify nuclear fission, not nuclear energy وخلاص. Nuclear fission, because nuclear fission is what happens here on Earth. Nuclear fusion happens in the core of the sun. Nuclear fusion happens in the core of the sun. هنا in the nuclear reactors we use nuclear fission. We split the large atoms, namely the uranium. Okay. Hmm. يلا, last question and we need to move on. يلا, last question. Can I find the gravitational potential energy? Yes, I can find the gravitational potential energy. Geothermal needs the sun to heat the rocks. لا, geothermal does not need the sun. Geothermal يعني how can you heat the rocks, or how are the hot rocks heated by the core of the earth? Okay, the core of the earth itself heats these rocks, and then they heat the water and turn them into steam or whatever. صح, بس the source is the core of the earth, not the sun. خلي بالك. Okay. طيب, can I find the gravitational potential energy? حاضر, we can find the gravitational potential energy equals mgh. Again يا شباب, please يعني please write down the equation. Please write down. I know that you know that it's mgh and that you can just multiply 0.2 times 9.8 times 10 وخلاص. I know. بس please just write it down. Okay? ما توفروش معلش. Okay? 0.2 times 9.8 times 10 is 19.6 joules, صح؟ 19.6 joules. طبعا I know في ال marking scheme it's written as 20 joules maybe because this was the old syllabus, بس خلاص احنا we need to write it down as 9.8 to get used to it. 9.8 meters per second squared. The G. The speed of the ball بصوا, the girl releases the ball. The speed of the ball immediately before it strikes the path is 14 meters per second. Immediately after it strikes the path is 12 meters per second. Calculate the kinetic energy of the ball immediately after. Immediately after it strikes the خلاص عادي خالص. Kinetic energy is what? Half mv squared. صح? Half times 0.2 times v squared after is 12. صح? After is 12 squared. صح؟ يلا, هيبقى كام؟ هيبقى كام؟ 14 جولز, صح, around 14 جولز. صح. Show that the change in momentum of the ball, change in momentum, is 5.2 kilograms per kilograms dot meters per second. Kilograms dot meters per, يلا, change in momentum. What's change in momentum? mv minus mu. صح. mv minus, حاضر, يلا, mv minus mu. ايه الماس بتاع البال؟ 0.2 times v. يلا يا مستر, 12 and 14. Can it be 12 and 14? Can you say that the velocity is 12 أو the v is 12 أو the, صح? Can you say that? لا. Again, Again, why? Because the ball was moving downwards, it hit the ground and it went upwards. صح? So as it was moving downwards, you can say that the velocity was 14 meters per second. And as it's moving upwards, the velocity will be negative 12. صح؟ لازم تبقى one of them has to be negative. One of them must be negative. طب يا مستر أنا what happens if I wrote down that the 14 was negative and the 12 was positive? It doesn't really matter. أهو let's use that method. Now هنا هتبقى negative 14 و positive 12. خلاص. That's it. Okay? Negative 12 and one of them has to be negative. Why? Because the ball changed its direction. Okay? So 0.2 times 12 minus 0.2 times negative 14. صح؟ يلا let's calculate it على calculator. I know it would be 5.2 بس point times 12 minus 0.2 times negative 14 هيطلع كام؟ Exactly 5.2 بالظبط طلع 5.2 kilograms dot meters per second. Okay? 3 marks. خلي بالكوا 3 marks. 3 very easy marks. Please ركزوا يا شباب في حتة النيجاتيف. Okay? Please remember that when it changes the direction, the sign also changes. يلا. The ball is in contact with the path for 0.25 seconds. Calculate the average force. حاضر هنجيب الفورس ازاي؟ It's the rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum. So basically, it's the impulse, okay, over the time or change of momentum. احنا we found ايه يا مستر احنا we didn't find the impulse. لا, you did find the impulse. You did find the change in momentum, which is the impulse. Change in momentum is the يلا. This is the impulse, which is 5.2 divided by time over 0.25 صح؟ هيطلع كام؟ 20.8 I guess صح؟ 20.8 نيوتنز صح؟ تايمز 4 تايمز 4 بس خلاص that's it سهل سهل فيعني kinetic energy gravitation potential energy work done okay بعدين we talk about the energy resources خلاص يعني these are all a very very easy questions طيب moving on to the second part احنا we have 3 parts النهارده we need to finish them up quite quickly second part was kind of easy برضو we need to talk about what the power and efficiency the power and efficiency صح طيب quickly what is power يا شباب power is the rate of change of momentum rate of change of energy what is power يا شباب okay it is the rate of change of a of energy. Again, what does rate mean? What does rate mean يا شباب? It means that we need to divide by time. صح? We need to divide by time. So basically power equals energy over time. خلاص, that's easy. Energy, the unit of the energy needs to be or must be in joules. The time must be in seconds. Must be in seconds. And therefore the power would be in watts. The power would be in ايه؟ in watts. حلو حلو. Energy, time, مش عارف ايه. خلاص كده خلاص. Oh, that's it. That's all I need. That's all I care about في الباور. There's another part. There's another very, very simple part. When we talked about the kilowatt hours, if you remember, the kilowatt hours, kilowatt hours. What was the kilowatt hours يا شباب? This was energy. What was the kilowatt hours? It was energy. يعني kilowatt hours احنا we need to calculate the energy خلاص بس in what unit not in joules لا you need to calculate it in kilowatt hours why because usually we calculate huge amounts of power huge amounts of energy the energy used in our homes مثلا ولا in whatever facility okay use up huge amounts of energy. So we're talking in the billions. We're talking in the billions of joules. By the end of the month, he won't tell you, Wallahi, you've used up 10 billion joules. And I will tell you, you've used up a couple of kilowatt hours. Stop. How can we calculate this kilowatt hours? This is energy. This is energy. Basically, you are calculating energy. From this equation, from this equation, can I find the energy? Yes, you can find the energy. How can you find the energy? Wallahi, the energy is equal to the power times time. If you want the energy in joules, خلاص, the power would be in watts and the time would be in seconds. بس. So if you want the energy in joules. But the new part added to the syllabus was that you need the energy but not in joules. You need the energy in kilowatt hours. You need the energy in kilowatt hours. Oh, kilowatt hours. طيب, how can I find the energy in kilowatt hours? Basically, all you need to do is convert the power into kilowatts. Kilowatts. So if the power is, let's say, 10,000 watts, if it is 10,000 watts, oh, لو الباور كان 10,000 watts, يبقى you need to convert it into kilowatts, which would be 10 kilowatts. بس كده. Oh, that's it. That's it. طب, and the time has to be in hours. Time has to be. طب, what if the time was in minutes divided by 60? What if it was in seconds divided by 3,600? That's it. Convert the time into hours. I know. This is not the SI unit. Time. The SI unit of the time is seconds. بس خلاص, into when you're calculating the energy, and he will be very specific. على فكرة, the question will be very specific. He will tell you, he will ask you, find the energy used in kilowatt hours. خلاص, he will tell you that. Find the energy used in kilowatt hours. Not just energy. خلاص, if I tell you find the energy, خلاص عادي, power times time, that would be easy, or whatever type of energy, half mv squared or mgh or work done or whatever. عادي خالص. Okay? I'm telling you find the energy. But if I'm being specific, he needs to be specific. He will tell you find the energy in kilowatt hours. And therefore you must convert the power into kilowatts and the time into hours. سهل سهل. ماشي. kilowatt hours. طيب, easy. And طبعا احنا we need to talk about the efficiency. The efficiency is what? يلا, how can I find the efficiency? When we talk about the efficiency, احنا we need to say that there's an input energy and an output energy. There's an input power and an output power. Energy input and energy output. Power input and power output. So basically, when you're finding the efficiency, you need to say that والله بص, the output ايش يا شباب, must be less than the input. Okay, if it's not equal, يعني if they're equal, this is in perfect conditions. But in normal conditions, the output is always, شباب, it's always less than the input. Why? Because there's always energy lost to the environment, as heat energy, as sound energy, as whatever type of energy. But when we're talking about the efficiency, خلاص, we need to say that the output is less than the input. So to find the efficiency, we need to say that the useful output, and I don't remember if useful is double L or only one L, but it doesn't really matter for now. Useful output over total input. Over ايش يا شباب? Total input. Useful output over total input. If you want to find it as a percentage, you just multiply by 100. Useful, not any output. You need to find the useful output over the total input. خلي بالكم, useful output over the total input. جميل. جميل. برضو, you have to bear in mind that the output and the input have to be the same unit. عشان I've seen too many silly mistakes in which Allah, you'd find the output, the energy, and the input power, you just divide the energy by the power. لا, you cannot do that. Both of them need to be either energy, useful output energy over total input energy, or useful power output over the total power input. خلي بالكم. Okay, so both units need to be the same. Energy, power. خلاص, if you have two different, خلاص, you can طب مثلا, should I convert it to power or should I convert it to energy? Whichever. whichever is easier for you, just find it. If it's easier for you to find the energy, خلاص يبقى energy over energy. طب power خلاص يبقى power over power. It doesn't really matter. خلاص, whichever is easier for you. And always remember, please, okay? Please always remember that the output is less than the input. هنا less وهنا ايه؟ more. Less over more. Why? Because the efficiency is always less than 1. You'd always find the efficiency less than 1. يعني less than 1, it would be 0 point something, 0 0.9, 0 0.8, 0 point whatever. طب what about the percentage? The percentage will always be less than 100%. You cannot find something that is 200% efficient. لا, that's يعني against the laws of physics. It's against every law خالص. يعني there's nothing that is more than 100% efficient. Never. You'd never find anything that's more than 100% efficient. خلاص. Just for your sake, whenever you have two numbers, if you have two energies, خلاص, and I found energy due to whatever, and I found an energy due to something else, and now he's asking me to find the efficiency, what should I do? طب which number is the numerator? Which number is the denominator? The smaller number is the numerator, the larger number is the denominator. That's it. That is it. خلاص. طيب, يلا بينا. Oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. As an explanation for this part of the lesson, as an explanation. Let's solve a couple of questions regarding these. Ah, um, eh? Yes, we can solve the. Yes, let me try to find that question, and we might solve it if I find it. طيب. Let's move on to the last couple of questions. Okay. If I do find that question, or if you know which page is it, please tell me so that we can solve it together. Okay. Let's start solving this question. 254. Yeah. Tidal power derives most of its energy from the moon. يلا 200 and ايه احنا قلنا 254 صح؟ يلا most of its energy from the sorry from the moon صح؟ State one other source of power which derives its energy from the sun. Okay, from the sun. Any other. طب يا مستر wind energy ماشي, wind energy. يلا, wind energy. One other source which does not derive from the sun. هو he said tidal, فخلاص I can say geothermal. صح, geothermal or nuclear. صح, or or nuclear. طيب, دلوقتي explain whether this method of generation is renewable. I have a turbine below the water, and you have the flow of water in this way. Is it renewable or not renewable? This is page 254. Okay, is this method renewable or not? Yes, definitely it is renewable. Yes, renewable. Why? Because the waves will always be renewed. خلاص, the waves will never end. Okay, خلاص, this is an unlimited power source. Oh, this is the tidal energy. The tides will never end. خلاص, the moon will always create the tides, high tide and the low tide. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Why? Because the tides are renewable أو will never end أو are continuous, whatever بقى خلاص يعني. are continuous. Okay. Yeah. Water is used up, no waste products are formed. ماشي. Can you find the power? Can I find the power? Oh, yes, I can find the power. Can I find the power? Oh, you can find the power. طب how can you find the power? Well, like the mass of the water passing through the turbine each second is 6 times 10 to the power of 3, 6,000 kilograms. The speed of the water is 2 meters per second. 40% of the kinetic energy is converted to electrical energy. 40% of the kinetic energy is converted to electrical energy. Calculate the electrical power generated. 4 marks. 4 marks. And actually, this question does deserve the 4 marks. طب أول حاجة, what should he do? What do I have? I have the mass and I have the velocity. Can I find the energy? Yes, I can find the energy. Yes, I can find the energy. يبقى kinetic energy equals half mv squared. يلا half times 6000 اللي هي 6 times 10 to the power of 3 times 2 squared times ايه 2 squared. يلا let's calculate it كده بسرعة. times تطلع 12,000 joules صح. This is the kinetic energy of the water. جميل. Okay. Can you find Allah, he's saying that 40% of the kinetic energy is converted to
بس
so
أنا
this is ايه شباب, this is the efficiency, this is the what the efficiency of the of this generator صح. This is the efficiency. So how can I find the output? Or how can can you find the output? Yes, I can find the output. خلي بالكم 40% is converted to electrical energy. So this is the output. يعني 40% is the output. So what did I find? What is this 12,000 joules? This is the total input. This is the total input. Oh, let me write it. Total input. طب يلا efficiency equals useful output over total input. The efficiency is 40%, which is basically 0.4. 0.4. So to find the output, you can write down a very small triangle كده. Efficiency, output, and input. I need to find the output, which is the efficiency 0.4 times total input, which is 12,000 joules صح. 12,000 joules. طيب جميل. يبقى this would be 4,800. يلا 4,800 joules. Allah, this is the this is the total power. لا خلي بالكم, this is the energy. This is the energy. Can I find the power? Oh, power equals energy over time. Power equals ايه energy over time. يبقى 4,800. طب divide يا مستر, احنا we don't have the time. لا, you do have the time. Read the question again. Read the question again. He'd say that the mass of the water passing through the turbine each second. يبقى divide by 1. ايه ده, يعني it's the same number basically. Yes, it is the same number. But if you write down 4,800 joules, it would be wrong. ها joules. وعلى فكرة sometimes he says each minute. You need to read the question carefully. You need to read it very carefully. يبقى 4,800 watts. 4,800 watts. يلا. اوكي. يلا بينا. اوكي. حلو. We have a simplified version of a gravity lamp. This apparatus is used to light a light emitting diode, an LED without means a electricity. خلاص يبقى you have a 12 kilogram load. The load of 12 kilograms is raised to a height of 1.7 meters above the ground. The load is connected to a pulley system. The time taken for the load to fall to the ground is 1200 seconds. The load falls at a constant speed. The generator is connected to an LED. ماشي حاضر. هنعمل ايه? calculate the rate of transfer of gravitational potential energy as it falls to the ground. Rate of transfer of ايه ده? Is that a new thing? Is that something new? We haven't taken it before. لا, you have. Rate ايه يا مستر, احنا انت you never said rate of انت you said gravitational potential energy. Yes, I did. But what does rate mean? Again, I told you, what does rate? Rate means that you will divide by the time. You will divide by time. خلي بالكوا, rate just simply means that you will divide by time. So rate of whatever, rate of whatever means that you need to take this whatever and divide it by time. حلو. طيب حلو. Can I find the can I find the gravitational potential energy الأول? Yes, you can find the gravitational potential energy. M يلا gravitational potential energy الأول is ايه? mgh. What is the mass? 12 صح. The mass is 12 kilograms. And the g 9.8 and the height 9.8 and the height is 1.7 صح. طيب لا يلا 12 times 9.8 times 1.7 which is almost 200 صح. This is almost كام 200. سهلة ماشي جميل. 200 joules. طيب rate of can you find the rate يعني divide by time. That's it بس يعني you need to find the power وبس كده. that's it. يبقى power equals energy over time or gravitational potential energy over time. يعني 200 divided by 1200 which would be 0.1666 يعني 0.17 watts بس كده. that's it. ايه ده 4 marks for very easy marks. Basically طب why didn't he just say power وخلاص ما يعني Cambridge انت you know Cambridge. He cannot give you an easy question يعني I'm not you're not in grade 1 ولا year 2 ولا year 3 لا I have to يعني ايه make it hard. Okay, he need the question to be very hard. Okay, but it's very easy. يعني هو is it that easy يا مستر will we take the 4 marks if we just write down this yes you will take the 4 marks بس that's it خلاص. طيب جميل يلا بينا. The light output is 0.10 watts. Can you find the efficiency? ايه ده بس كده output. طب ما هو he said the output and I have the input هنا خلاص that's it. That's all I'll do يعني efficiency equals total output أو useful output over the total input وبس كده. Yes and that's it. يلا efficiency equals the useful output over total input يعني 0.1 divided by 0.17 بس that's it. هيطلع كام 0.59 I guess صح divided by 0.17 yeah 588 which is 0.59. If you want it in percentage if you want to find the percentage times 100 so it's 59% بس كده بس كده. Suggest a social or environmental advantage of using a gravity lamp. 0.17 watts yes it is power 0.17 it is power. um, ما انت دلوقتي you have the power input and you have the power output. You have two powers power input and power output but the question is asking you to find the efficiency. فانت what do انت just divide two numbers. طب should I how can I find the efficiency يلا ال output over the input ال useful output over the total input. Okay بس that's it. Suggest a social or environmental advantage of using a gravity lamp. طبعا environmental advantage would be, for example, that you're not using any fossil fuels, for example. So I'm not using any fossil fuels. It operates on its own, or not on its own, into use some of your energy to lift the lamp الأول بعد كده as it's falling down it operates. فيعني the chemical energy inside you was converted to gravitational potential energy and then to kinetic energy and then to electrical energy. But basically you didn't use any no use of you didn't use any fossil fuels. Okay, yeah, didn't use any fossil fuels. حلو حلو. hmm. يلا حلو question ده. This is a nice question. hmm. Okay يلا we can solve this question. Okay. hmm. Can this question again? You want this question again? Efficiency بص the equation. What's the equation? How can I find the efficiency? Useful output over total input. طيب what type of output? Does it have to be energy? لا it doesn't have to be energy. And I said the useful output could be power and the total input could also be power. صح؟ طب دلوقتي the light output خلاص he was very يعني ايه straightforward. He said that the light output the useful output is okay is طيب ماشي is 0.1 and total input is 0.17 divide them. This is the efficiency. You want C useful advantage and environmental advantage. طب if you think about it يعني ايه from another perspective using fossil fuels harms the environment. صح? Using fossil fuels harms the environment. So if you do not use any fossil fuels, this is better for the environment. So this is basically an environmental advantage of using this gravity lamp. خلي بالك, what happens if you read the question again? What happens in this gravity lamp? Basically, you lift up this gravity lamp صح. And then you leave it, it will start falling on its own very slowly. It starts falling very slowly on its own. It's a new lamp. It's they created this lamp somehow. Okay, they created this lamp somehow. There's some sort of generator in this pulley, whatever. I don't care. خلاص. And you do not care how does it operate. I don't care how does it operate. بس يعني probably there's a generator, there's a turbine and generator inside this pulley. For while it's falling down, the gravitational potential energy is converted to kinetic energy and then to electrical energy, in which the lamp can light up. Okay, what does it have to do with fossil fuels? That anti in this case you're not using fossil fuels, but this is better for the environment. بس it's better for the environment that you're not using any fossil fuels وخلاص. ده يعني is there any use? لا, there is no. طب usually بصي, usually when we light up the room, when you light up أي حاجة, ها, you have to use, okay, most of the energy produced, or most of the electricity produced, is using fossil fuels. Most of the energy produced worldwide is using fossil fuels. طب in this case, I am producing electrical energy. Am I using any sort of fossil fuels while lighting up this LED? No, you're not using any fossil fuels. Therefore, this is an advantage. Okay, it's an environmentally friendly LED. خلاص. طيب. يلا. حلو. يلا. A small wind turbine. What small wind turbine drives a generator to provide electricity for an isolated village. يلا. Kinetic energy. Um, the decrease in kinetic energy of the wind striking the turbine is 16,200 joules every second. ماشي. The output generator is 23 amperes at 240 volts. Calculate the efficiency of the turbine and the generator. ايه ده؟ ازاي efficiency؟ ايه اللي انت بتقوله ده؟ واحدة واحدة. واحدة واحدة. 200 23 amperes and 240 volts. Okay, we can find the power. You can find the power. طبعا احنا this is later on, but we will say it again دلوقتي. To find the power using um, the current and the voltage, the power equals a VI. Power equals a VI. So basically 23 out 240 times 23. So this is the power output. So this is the power output. 23 times 240 is what? Is 5,520 5,520 watts. So this is the power output. يلا, let me write it down. Output. طب what's the power input? 16,200 joules every second. So can I find the input? Yes, a whole input. Power equals energy over time. يلا, 16,200 divided by 1, which is basically 16,200. I added an extra zero. Watts. Efficiency, يلا حاضر. Efficiency equals useful output over total input. طيب, what if, خلي بالك, what if he did not write down that this was the output of the generator? What if he did not write that this was the output of the generator, that the 23 times 240 was the output? So what should he do? خلاص, the smaller number would always be the numerator. على طول. The smaller number is the numerator. So 5,520 over 16,200 times 100. Why times 100? To find the percentage. To find the percentage, this would be around 34%. خلاص, around 34%. بس كده. بس. When electrical energy is not required. يلا. The generator charges batteries that then provide electrical energy during periods of no wind. State the term used to describe the energy stored inside the batteries. Yalla, inside the batteries we store what type of energy? You can never say, please, you can never say electrical energy stored inside the batteries. That's wrong. What type of energy? طبعا we know it is chemical energy. صح? Chemical energy. صح? طيب. The use of wind turbines on a large scale has environmental and economic impacts. Describe one environmental impact and one economic impact of wind turbines. Environmental and economic impacts. Like wind turbines. Oh, they're good for the environment. Yes, they are. But they have disadvantages. Yes, they do. Okay. Yes, they do. Type. Um, can I write, for example, can I write a as an environmental harms لا, harms the environment um, high initial انت you're saying high initial cost ماشي ماشي high initial cost that is a disadvantage that is an economic disadvantage yes خلي بالك هو he didn't state ها whether you need to write um, advantages or disadvantages. He didn't state whether you need to write down advantages, environmental advantages or disadvantages or economic. لا انت you can write okay you can يا شباب write down advantages or disadvantages in both okay بس يلا انت you said it harms the environment okay and I would say instead of saying harms the environment it's kind of a vague word kind of a vague expression I will say that it could kill birds it could strike the birds it produces too much noise too much noise wind turbine produces too much noise it doesn't cause any air pollution okay it doesn't cause any air pollution okay so no air pollution no air pollution okay it causes too much noise or causes too much noise these are some of the environmental impacts what about the economic impacts very high initial costs صح very high initial cost طيب what about running costs you can say low running costs صح low running costs طيب جميل حلوة easy صح this was an easy lesson if you recall yeah طيب خلاص enough for power and efficiency let's move on to pressure يلا last but not least عايزين نتكلم على ال pressure صح pressure was quite easy huh? Pressure was quite environmental. Can we say that it takes up large spaces? Yes. Yeah, you can say that it takes up large spaces. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. يعني هنا if you want to say environmental no air pollution causes too much noise you want to say it takes up too much space yeah it does take too much space okay because one wind turbine wouldn't be sufficient فانت you kind of need several wind turbines okay okay um mm, يلا pressure ان شاء الله it wouldn't take too much time فيلا بسرعة كده pressure we had two types of pressure we either had pressure due to contact of two surfaces two solid surfaces or we had pressure due to liquids but if I'm talking about solids how can I find the pressure? It was easy. Pressure equals force over area. صح? Pressure equals force over area. The force needed to be in newtons and the area had to be in meters squared. Why? Because the pressure had to be in pascals, PA. That's it. That's it. Pressure equals force over area. خلاص. You need to find the area in contact, not the surface area. Huh? Not the surface area of the object. Okay? لا لا I'm sorry I have to finish this up today okay so you need to find the area in contact okay of the object with the other surface and you need to find the force sometimes the force was the weight sometimes the force was the weight طيب solids what about in water or in liquids due to liquids okay, due to liquids, we could say that the pressure was equal to rho gh. Pressure equals rho gh. I know this equation is very similar to the other equation in which we said mgh, mgh, but this is different, a totally, completely different equation. What is rho, يا شباب? It's the density. طيب يا مستر, do I have to write rho? Do I have to write this P, this? لا, you don't have to write it down. You can write DGH. You can write whatever you want. Okay? You can write whatever you want. بس يعني rho GH, usually we know it. If you cannot write this rho, you can write D, which stands for density. Density برضو, it has to be in what? The density has to be in kilograms mass over volume, kilograms per meters cubed. Okay, per meters cubed. The G would be meters per second squared. هو يعني the gravitation potential energy, oh sorry, the gravitation acceleration, and the height, oh actually the depth below the surface. Okay, the height is the depth below the surface in meters. Depth below the surface in what? In meters. And the G on Earth, I'm talking about on Earth, it's 9.8 meters per second squared. خلاص. Um, Also in liquids, sometimes he would ask you to find the total pressure. He tell you, find the total pressure. How can I find the total pressure? Okay, how can you find the total pressure? The total pressure is the sum of the pressure due to the liquid. Okay, total pressure is what? The pressure due to the liquid, which is rho GH, plus the atmospheric pressure. Okay, atmospheric pressure. He would give you he will tell you, والله, the atmospheric pressure is, let's say, 1.01 times 10 to the power of 5 pascals. He will tell you, he will state in the question that the pressure, the atmospheric pressure is 1.01 times 10 to the power of 5, or whatever, 1 times 10 to the power of 5, 100,000 pascals, 102,000 pascals. خلاص يعني, بس he has to say, he has to state in the question that the atmospheric pressure is a certain number. 1.0. Why? Because the atmospheric pressure actually can change. It could increase a bit, it could decrease a bit. Okay, so it's not a fixed number. خلي بالكوا, the atmospheric pressure is not a fixed number. It could change a bit. ماشي. I keep on forgetting to drink water. Anyway, total pressure, pressure due to the liquid, plus the atmospheric pressure. خلاص خلاص, that's it على فكرة. Oh, this is the whole lesson. Pressure. This is كل هو ده pressure. Oh, this is the pressure. There's another question in pressure. He asks you, how do air molecules exert pressure on surfaces, for example? Okay, how do air molecules exert, okay, there's a C هنا ولا whatever, exert a pressure, pressure on surfaces. يعني دلوقتي I have the air around me. How does this air exert this atmospheric pressure? Why is there an atmosphere? Why is it exerting a pressure on me? Okay? Okay, we have to write down a couple of points. We have to write down a couple of points. First of all, air molecules. How do the air molecules move? You know that the air molecules move fast and random, صح? Air molecules move fast and random in all directions, صح? In all directions. Colliding, so do not say, please, and I've seen this way too much. Way too many times. Way too many times. You write down, والله the air molecules collide with each other. لا, I don't care. I know that they do collide with each other, but that's not part of the answer. I don't care about them colliding with each other. They collide, yes, but they colliding with the surface, or colliding, huh? With the walls, with the walls of the surface of the container or whatever. Okay, when they collide with the walls, what happens? Changing their momentum. They change, changing their momentum. When they change their momentum, change in momentum, rate of change in momentum was force. صح? Force equals rate of change of momentum. So they hit the walls, exerting a force on the wall. يلا. Exerting, causing a force, causing a force over an area, which is ايه بقى؟ يلا. Which is pressure. So basically, the molecules hit the walls, causing a change in momentum, exerting a force on this wall. there is an area of contact for this molecule with the wall or with the surface. يبقى force over area is pressure. خلاص خلاص. طيب, that's easy. I know pressure was one of the easier lessons throughout this syllabus. Okay. طيب, let's solve a couple of questions regarding pressure بسرعة كده and we'll be done for today. يلا بينا. يلا, open up pressure. آخر question في pressure was page هنا صح؟ page 292 صح؟ يلا page 292. اوكي. ايوه. يلا. Explain in terms of particles why is it difficult to compress liquids. طبعا this is يعني in states of matter بس يعني let's solve it quickly دلوقتي. Why can we compress why is it difficult. Okay. Why حاضر. Okay, why is it difficult to compress liquids. والله liquids يعني in liquids ايه اللي بيحصل في liquids. liquids are very أو the molecules are close together صح. molecules are close together are close together صح. The molecules are very close together not just close together يعني أو are touching. طب what about the forces man. Two marks. You need to talk about the distance between the liquids and you need to talk about the forces between the molecules and they have high أو large أو يعني the forces between the molecules are strong. Yeah. Between the molecules are a are strong. سهلة سهلة. يلا بينا. Okay. Show that the pressure due to the water at the base of the block is approximately 850 pascals. Can I find the pressure? حاضر. Rho GH صح؟ طيب rho GH. The density of the water is 1000. This is the rho. The gravitation يلا pressure equals a rho GH 1000 times 9.8 times the height. Depth below the water is 0.087. يلا multiply 1000 times 9.8 times times 0.087 هيطلع كام؟ هيطلع 852 أو 853 pascals which is very close to 850 pascals. طيب easy سهل. Calculate the force on the base of the block caused by the pressure given in BI. Can I find the force? Yes, you can find the force. والله the equation pressure equals force over area. حاضر. Pressure it's very straightforward صح. Force over area. Can I find the force? Yes, force equals pressure times area. So 853 times the area اهي ادي الاريا 0.014. No conversions, no nothing صح. مفيش اي حاجة times 0.014 هيطلع كام؟ 11.9 which is basically 12 newtons صح. easy. يلا can I find the mass of the block. حاضر mass. الforce is equal to the weight. يبقى can I find the يلا it's هو is it that easy. Yes it is that easy. ها mass احنا we know weight equals mg so m equals weight over g 12 divided by 9.8 which is approximately 0.12 kilograms صح. approximately 0.12 I'm sorry 1.2 مش 0.12 I'm sorry 1.2 kilograms. سهل صح. يلا يلا. Figure 1.1 shows sea water flowing down channel into a tank without splashing. يعني كل all of the mass of the water is added to the tank. The water flowing. بصوا كده. The water is flowing at a rate of 800 kilograms per minute. This is not a new unit. It's flowing at the rate of what? 800 kilograms per minute. The length and width of the tank are 3.1 and 1.2. The density of the seawater is 1020 kilograms per meter cubed. Initially, the tank is empty. Calculate the depth of the water after 1 minute. Calculate ايه the depth of the water after 1 minute. طب يا مستر هو is this something new يعني is this something that was added to the syllabus ولا حاجة؟ لا it's not new. It's not new. هو the thing is if you have the flow rate of 800 kilograms per minute يعني every minute you will add 800 kilograms. صح. Every minute, the mass of this tank will increase by how much? It will increase by 800 kilograms. After 1 minute, 800. 2 minutes, 1600. 3 minutes, 2400. Whatever. So the mass keeps on increasing by 800 kilograms every minute. So he's asking you after 1 minute, can you find the depth? Yes, I can find the depth. I'll first of all say that the mass after 1 minute is 800 kilograms. 800 kilograms. Can I find the depth? والله depth أنا I have an equation. Okay, you have an equation يعني أنت depth و mass و velocity. طب إيه ده? Will I use the old question? Sorry, the old equation density equals mass over volume? Yes. بس كده بس كده. Density equals mass over volume. طب what does this have to do with the depth? ما هو from the volume you can find the height or the depth. ما هو volume equals a length times width times the height. You have the length and the width, you need to find the height. صح? You have the mass, yes. You have the density, yes, which is 1020. Yes, can you find the volume? Density equals mass over volume. يعني volume equals mass over density. يلا 800 over 1020. What's 800 divided by 1020? يلا كام؟ 0.784. ماشي. 0.784 meters cubed. This is the volume. Can I find the depth? Can I find the height? Height is the depth. Yes, height would be equal to volume over length times width. صح. الفوليوم دلوقتي كام 0.784 divided by length 3.1 times 1.2. Again, when you calculate this using the calculator, please use the fraction sign. Please use the fraction sign. Do not write down 0.784 divided. Do not use the divide sign and then the multiplication sign. Why? Because يعني the final answer would be wrong unless you use parentheses. So using 0.784 divided by 3.1 times 1.2 is كام؟ 0.165. صح. So depth is 0.165 meters. Okay. Did I calculate something wrong? Um, oh, this is squared. No, this is not squared. 0.21. 0.21. This is more like it. 0.21 meters. I can't even use the calculator right. مش عارف في ايه. يلا 0.21 meters. يلا the height of the water decreases by 0.42 meters as it flows. صح؟ Down the channel. يلا calculate the decrease in gravitational potential energy of the water each second. ايه يا مستر كل الكلام ده decrease يعني basically he wants to find the gravitational potential energy بس كده that's it. Can you find the حاضر mgh you have the mass I have the mass طيب بس خلي بالكم every minute. Okay, every minute mass every minute per minute يعني you need to divide by 60. Okay, ايه ده يعني مش فاهم حاجة. بص I'm sorry, every second. The time was every minute. The mass was every minute. For each second, يعني you need to divide by 60. خلي بالكم شو see that's why هنا he said every minute. So عادي خالص gravitational potential energy, gravitational potential energy is what mgh. الماss is 800 times 9.8 times the height is 0.42. خلي بالكم this is not the final answer. This is not the final answer. لا, it's not times. You need to divide. You need to divide. Why? Because the هنا هنا the mass is per minute. Per minute. So يلا let's find it. 800 times 9.8 times 0.42 is 3293. ها, 3293 joules. ايه ده الله, this is the final answer. لا, this is per minute. بصوا, this is every minute, every 60 seconds. يعني you can write it down, أو يعني if you want to write down the ratio, if the energy and the time, the energy, this energy is 3293, is a 3293, and the time taken is 1 minute. But can you convert this 1 minute to seconds? Yes, I can convert this 1 minute to seconds. So the time taken is 60 seconds. Can you find the energy taken, or the energy, gravitational potential energy, in 1 second? Can you find cross multiplication? So when you cross multiply 3293 times 1 divided by 60, صح? 3293 divided by 60. يلا, divided by 60 هيبقى كام؟ 54.88 or 55 joules. Okay, 55 joules. Okay, يلا خلي بالكم ان هنا each second, يعني if you found the final answer 3293 joules وخلاص that's it, you would lose a mark. Why? Because you forgot to read that it's each second. The mass 800 kilograms, it's every minute. كل every minute. Okay. The water stops flowing. The depth of the water in the tank is zero point 0.8 meters. Calculate the pressure at the bottom of the tank due to the water. حاضر. Due to the water only. Due to the water only. يلا, pressure equals rho GH. Density times the G. يلا, 1020 times the G. 9.8 times the height. 0.8. يلا, that's very straightforward. 9.8 times 0.8 هيطلع كام؟ 7996.8. طيب يا مستر, can I write it down as 8000? طبعا you can. Okay, طبعا you can write it down as 8000. Okay, 1090 yes. Okay, جميل. باسكالز, PA. سهل الكلام. يلا بينا. هم. ماشي, لا لا, let's ignore this question عشان هنا P1 V1 equals P2 V2, فاحنا we will discuss this question later on next session إن شاء الله. يلا, can we solve this question? Yes, we can. يلا بينا. Pressure. ها, calculate the mass of the liquid. Can I find the mass of the liquid? Wallahi, the measuring cylinder contains 82 centimeters cubed of the liquid. The density of the liquid is 950 kilograms per meter cubed. Can I find the mass? Yes, density equals mass over volume, so mass equals density times volume, صح? But if you multiply 82 times 950 على طول, it would be wrong. Why? Because you need to convert the centimeters cubed to meters cubed. Type, how can I convert centimeters cubed to meters cubed? Divided by 100 cubed. صح? You need to divide by 100 cubed. Be a very small number. عادي خالص. Very small number. عادي جدا. 82. Okay. يلا, 82 divided by 100 cubed. ها, يطلع كام؟ 8.2 times 10 to the negative 5. هنسيبها, just leave it as it is. 8.2 times 10 to the negative 5 meters cubed. يلا يبقى 950 times 8.2 times 10 to the negative 5. What is the mass? ها. مهم. 0.0779 or 0.008 kilograms. سهلة سهلة. جميل. Okay. يلا. Can I find the height? لا, he gave me the height. Can you find the pressure? Yes, you can find the pressure. Pressure equals rho GH. You have the density, you have the G, you have the height. يلا. Very straightforward. 950 times 9.8 times the height 0.094. يلا بينا. 950 times 9.8 times 0.094. هيبقى كام؟ 875 باسكالز. سهل. ايزي. حاضر. ها. في مشكلة؟ لا مفيش مشكلة. The true pressure at point X is different from the value calculated in BI. Why so? Why is it different? ها. The true pressure true pressure يعني the total pressure يعني there is still the atmospheric pressure. احنا we forgot about the atmospheric pressure. So you actually need to add the atmospheric pressure. Okay? Atmospheric pressure. Okay, يلا بينا. A small object is made of steel. It is placed um, level with the top of the surface on the liquid. Then it is released. The object sinks into the liquid. Why does the object sink? يلا, very easy. Why? Because the density of the object. يلا, the density of the object is greater, صح, than the liquid. صح, the density of the liquid. خلاص. Need to talk about the densities. Describe how the volume of the object can now be determined. يلا برضه very easy. It's very. How can you find the volume? احنا we need to find the new volume and subtract it. صح. Find the new volume. يلا find the new volume and subtract 82, which was the. كان 82 صح؟ ها. And subtract 82 from this volume. يلا بس.